Thank you for downloading this Real Agriculture podcast. Next thing you know the next thing. Next is Now is a short podcast discussing agriculture's emerging next-gen tech and trends as they're happening in our industry. Next is Now, presented by GFL Ag. Listen where you get your podcasts today.
Bernard Tobin here at the Commodity Classic in Houston, Texas. I'm over at GSI catching up with Greg Trame. Greg, how's it going?
Wonderful. Glad to be here in Houston, Bernard.
Awesome. Hey, let's talk about GSI's GrainVue. And, you're really billing this as, a way to help farmers take the guesswork out of managing grain. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so with GrainVue, what we're doing is we're providing some feedback of what's going on in that grain bin. So we basically have the ability to measure grain temperature, grain moisture, as well as CO2 levels. And CO2 is an interesting thing to add in because CO2 is that earliest detection of grain spoilage that we have. So when we put that all together, we really get a great picture of what's going on inside of a grain bin to help farmers manage that for that maximum profitability when they go to market that crop.
And you're also, analyzing weather, gathering information, and automating everything from, fan operation. We can dry and cool grain.
Yeah. So GrainVue is really kind of built on this modular platform. It starts with the side that monitors what's going on in the bin, and then customers can add on that next step, which is our automation. So when we bring in fan automation, that's when we'll also add sensors that determine what's the weather doing outside. So we're going to look at the temperature and humidity of what's going on outside the bin so that we can find the perfect air conditions to aerate that grain and achieve the objectives that they have, whether they need to dry grain, they may just want to cool grain out for storage, or one of the things that's really popular is rehydrating soybeans. So how can we take those soybeans that were harvested at 9 and 10% moisture and bring them back up closer to 12, 13, and it really helps those farmers recapture some profitability. We're in a situation with the markets now where commodity prices are getting tighter, so anything they can do to capture some additional profitability on that crop is really great, and GrainVue's the system that can make that easy for them and get that maximum return on those soybeans that they've grown, or not over drying that corn crop in the bin, because again, margins are tight. We want to save every penny of water we can that is in that bin.
So we're sending alerts to the smartphone. We're getting all kinds of alerts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So GrainVue is an entirely cloud-based system. So we're going to gather data at your bin. We're going to send that up to an AWS data cloud, and then from there the customers are going to interact on their cell phone, their iPad, their computer in their office, and GrainVue is always looking. So the customer can configure a whole series of alerts, so they don't have to watch the bin. We'll watch it for them, and as soon as something goes wrong, we're going to send them that text message alert to tell them, hey, you might want to go take a look at this bin, something's going on. Or it may be as simple as it sends them an alert, they can interact on their phone, start the fans right there, and address that problem without even going to the bin site.
Final question, tell us how, the technology bolts onto the bin.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, it's kind of built in this modular platform. So we've got this series of sensors. We're going to hang cables inside of your bin. That's going to allow us to measure the temperature and moisture of the grain. But then we've also got our CO2 sensor that goes inside the bin. That's all going to come onto the outside. We're going to have a device on the top of the bin, and once we get that data out, we'll start wirelessly transmitting data. So it makes that installation really simple. When we add our fan controls, we're going to put a module right on the side of the bin that's going to interact with our system to control the fans. And then there's kind of the brains of the operation, which is a communications gateway. So we put one of those on your farm. We need one communications gateway, and it can control all the bins on your farm. So that's an initial investment that you'll make with the first system, and then it's there for all the rest of the systems to use. So really simple. This is one of those kind of things that your bin dealer can come out in one day. They've got that system up and running. So it's made it really easy to bring this technology to the grain system.
And availability, connecting with your grain dealer and reaching out to GSI?
Absolutely. Contact any of your local GSI dealers. They can quote this technology. It's available, easy to get before harvest this year. So reach out to either your local dealer or GSI, and we can get you set up with a GrainVue.
Great stuff, Greg. Always appreciate you making some time for Real Agriculture.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.